Welcome to part one of the Premier League preview at sportsbet.io, and we're going to go straight in there with the big game of the weekend, which is Man City taking on Arsenal, 4:30pm on Sunday UK time. I would say this is a bit of a title decider, but of course last season Arsenal took 4 points from Man City and still didn't win the title, so who knows. Prices in this one: Man City are 1.81, prices correct at the time of recording. Arsenal are 4.6. That's a big price on Arsenal. 3.65 for the tie. I'm going to go to Paul Robinson first for his thoughts on the big game, Man City versus Arsenal. What's your thinking on this one?
I was at the game last night. I was at the Etihad for the Man City Inter Milan game, and they were slow in the build at Manchester City. They were slow. They were methodical. They looked like two teams that were coached within an inch of their life. To be honest, it was like a chess match. It was certainly a game for the purist. It's not one that you'll rewatch over and over again and say it's a Champions League classic. But I tell you what, it'll be used in coaching seminars all over the world, the way that the two teams were coached. City have started the season well, haven't they? Arsenal had a good win last week against Tottenham. Granted, you look at the players that they have missing. Declan Rice was missing, Odegaard was missing. And you know what they say, you don't always need possession in football to win football matches. They find a way. And they took 4 points off City last season. It's a tough one to call this. It'll be a good game. I think City with De Bruyne missing. De Bruyne limped off last night. He's looking like he's not going to be fit for the weekend. So it'll be interesting to see. Gundogan came on, had two really good opportunities late on in the game. They've got the squad depth. They've got the players to do it. It's just, do they have that spark in the final third? They didn't have that last night.
Talking of sparks as well, Arsenal have got to spark into life in the Champions League. At the time of recording, they're actually playing later on today in the Champions League, so they've got a trip to Italy to take on Atalanta, which is a very tough place to go. So they can't really fully focus on Man City yet, whereas Man City now, attention already this morning turns to Arsenal. Arsenal can't do that until tomorrow because they've got to play Champions League football on a Thursday night. So how much of that is going to have an effect on this game for you, Neil, that Arsenal are yet to play in the Champions League, and yet it's Thursday and they're playing on Sunday?
Yeah, it's not ideal, is it? You know, we've seen that in the past with Europa League teams playing Thursday, Sunday. It does have an impact. I think what I would say as well is that is a tough game. Atalanta, they won the Europa League last season. They play man-to-man. They are going to make that a horrible game for Arsenal to play in. I think Arsenal will actually enjoy playing Sunday much more than the game against Atalanta. So we're talking now. I don't know what's happened in terms of, is anybody injured? You know, Man City played in their Champions League game. De Bruyne gets injured. Massive blow. He was injured all last season. They still won the league. So it's not like they can't cope without him, because they did cope without him. Arsenal showed last week, and it was a massive test. We asked the question, can Arsenal cope without key players? Because they had them all fit last season, and they went really close. So to miss Odegaard and Rice in a big game away at the rivals Spurs and win was a massive, massive boost. It really was. Rice will be back, which is a huge boost for them. I think Arsenal get something from the game. I really do think Arsenal will get something from the game. There's a lot of negativity around City at the moment with all this, the charges going off the pitch. They've drawn against Inter. People thought it would be maybe a victory. So, I think Arsenal will get something from it. I mean, it'll take a brave man to call a victory there, but I don't see them losing.
They haven't won at Man City since 2015, so we're coming up to the best part of a decade since Arsenal last won at Man City in a 2-0 victory. I thought it was a very important victory for Arsenal, not just the 3 points, of course, that's important, but the manner of the victory away at Spurs, because Arsenal, you could think, are a team that you could consider they have a fairly soft underbelly, and it's okay, they can wallop the likes of Fulham and wallop the likes of Crystal Palace and etc, but in these big games where they're up against it and they're missing their best players, have they got that steely resolve to just get a result? And they tested that they proved that they can against Spurs with that 1-0 victory. So it wasn't just about the 3 points, was it, Paul? It was about the manner of it and the fact that there was a steely determination that even though we're not firing in all cylinders and missing some players, we ground out a 1-0 at our biggest rivals. That's testament to the mentality that Arteta's brought to Arsenal, isn't it?
Yeah, they did well. Move on.
We'll move on. I can tell.
Listen, they were a game plan. The back four won them that game. In all honesty, the back four won them.
Yeah.
You look at the possession that Tottenham had, you look at how toothless they were in the final third. Arsenal's back four, the way that they set up the team shape, and the way that they relied on set plays, and they're clever with the set plays. They've got a set play coach, they're very intelligent with the set plays, and that's something that you'll see a lot more during the season. But I think Gabriel and Saliba, we've waxed lyrical about them so many times before, but they were excellent, they really were. And it was the back four that actually give Arsenal the platform to go and win that game. And that's the difference you talk about. That's the solidity that you talk about. That's the togetherness, the ruggedness. They've been able to dig in and get a result out when not necessarily they always have been able to do. So yeah, honestly, as much as it pains me to say it, it was a good away performance from them with some top players missing.
Well, they are going to be tested, of course, because they're coming and going against Haaland, who's 9 goals already in the Premier League this season. That is more than every other team, bar Man City, have scored, which is just ridiculous. Haaland has scored twice against Arsenal, and it was the last goal in both games as well. When Man City have beaten Arsenal, Haaland popped up with the final goal of the game. Man City have won their last 13 Premier League games straight. The last team that they failed to beat was Arsenal in that 0-0 tie at the Etihad. The record for most consecutive wins in the Premier League is 18 wins straight, set both by Man City and Liverpool. I think the question here is quite simply, are Arsenal just a little bit too big, Neil, at 4.6? Would that kind of tend you to lean towards Arsenal with the Arsenal draw no bet, Arsenal to get at least something from this game? Because that's a big price for someone who's proven last season they can compete and beat Man City.
Yeah, I think Arsenal are the real deal. I really do think that. City know that. City didn't score against them last season. Pep will be well aware of the qualities of Arsenal. This is another test for Arsenal. You know, can they go there and get something they showed last season that they could do? Haaland's been in great form. City still has 4 big chances against Inter Milan, even though they didn't score. They will get chances in this game. It's whether they can take that or not. I think Arsenal will. I've really got Arsenal to get something. You know, I'd be tempted even to back them to win. Like you said, the last time they won there was 2015, and this is where the question comes at you both. Cazorla and Giroud scored. There was one Englishman that started for Arsenal that day. Who was it?
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Yes, there we go, Gav. Love it. The Ox was the only Englishman to start. Anyway, right, so let's get back to this game. What about...
story? Hang on, before you go on, do you want an even funnier story?
Go on.
He bought my house off me when I left London.
I love it.
I like it. Did you get a good deal? Good deal? Was it all right? Good deal?
Yeah, but I should have known who it was, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you sure? Of course you should. Yeah, absolutely. There you are.
Right, goal scorer for this game. Gav, get this one priced up. Goal scorer for this game, a player who scored once in 2024. He hasn't scored in his last 15 games for Arsenal. Jesus. Maybe they need something a little bit Jesus-y at Arsenal and City. Jesus to score 1 goal in 2024 for Arsenal.
I'll have a look if I can find any-time goal scores. At the moment, there's no such market, but there will be. It will be populated closer to the game. So look at Jesus to score. It's quite funny, as I said, because Man City, the last time they failed to beat a side in the Premier League, it was Arsenal 0-0. And the last time Arsenal failed to win away from home, because they've been superb away from home. They've won 10 of the last 11. The last place they didn't win was at Man City in that 0-0 tie. And that tends for me personally to look at the tie in this one at 3.65, because for me this is where Arsenal prove how they've changed over the course of the last few seasons, because previously Arsenal would come here and probably get rattled for 3 or 4 and get beat 3 or 4 at home, but now they actually can come here and it's a much tighter game, and Arsenal tend to walk away with a point minimum recently. So let's go for score predictions on this one. I'll go to you first, Paul, for Man City against Arsenal. It's your big game on Sunday. As I said, those prices, 1.81 for Man City, Arsenal 4.6, which is still big for me, 3.65 for the tie. Price is correct at the time of recording. Score prediction, please, Paul.
That's too big for me, Arsenal. That's too big. That's a big price. That's a lot of value. And they are capable of getting something. I know Neil's going to go for a draw. So just for the fun of the game, Man City at home. Can't not back Man City at home. I'm going to go Manchester City 3, Arsenal 1.
Wow. 3-1. That see what price that is, by the way. 3-1 is 14. He's gone straight in with a big price. 14, 3-1 Man City. Okay, your score prediction, please, Neil.
Yeah, I mean, Saliba and Gabriel at the back. Not sure they've conceded 3 in the Premier League before. Do you know what? Draw, Arsenal win. I'm going to go for it. Arsenal to win away 2-1. And this is going to be the one where everyone goes, bang, Arsenal are right in this title mix. Which they are anyway. 2-1 for Arsenal.
That's going to be a big price. Oh, it's 13. So it's slightly smaller than the 3-1. So, so the first time in best part of a decade that Arsenal would have won at Man City, you've gone for the 2-1 scoreline. I like it when you completely disagree with each other. So 3-1 Man City. Yeah, 3-1 Man City for Paul, 2-1 Arsenal for Neil. The next big game that we'll look at for this weekend in the Premier League is Forest at home. Sorry, not Forest. It is Liverpool at home to Bournemouth. 1.29 for Liverpool. Bournemouth the 9.2, 6.2 for the tie. Of course, Liverpool did have that shock result against Forest. What happened there, Neil?
Oh dear, it was a bad day at the office. Liverpool looked a little bit jaded because they were all back from international. 11 starters for Liverpool had flown around the world. Forest only had 6. They defended well. Forest defended very well. Liverpool didn't create clear-cut chances, and then they nicked it on the counter-attack. Forest subs were better than Liverpool subs, and that's what won them the game. Alanga and Hudson-Odoi, horrible. Hated leaving Anfield on Saturday. 5 o'clock when I'm leaving Anfield on Saturday. Better not be another defeat to Bournemouth. That would be bad.
Liverpool have lost 2 of their last 5 Premier League games at home. They've lost just 1 of their previous 58 at Anfield before that. Since being promoted to the Premier League, Bournemouth have played 7 times at Anfield and they've lost 6 of them. They did get a 2-2 draw in 2017, but of course, Neil will remember the 2022 clash at Anfield where they got walloped 9-0 by Liverpool.
Go on, let's throw a question. I know Paul's not a little go on this one. Who got the equaliser for Bournemouth the last time they got a point? 2-2, 2017. It's the only point they've ever got at Anfield. Who got the equaliser for Bournemouth 2017? If you want a clue, I can give you one. He did start at Manchester United. Who got the equaliser for Bournemouth? Norway International. No, there you go. Norway International. Easy.
Joshua King.
There you go, Josh King. Gav's on fire. Come on, Robbo.
Thank you.
Mate, I told you, I've had 2 late nights. I've been at Old Trafford and the Etihad 2 nights running. And the M62's been closed both nights. I've not got in till 1 o'clock. I'm tired this morning, mate. It's too early.
That puts the pressure on me to get these right. So what are we going to expect here then, Neil? A response from Liverpool, because of course they did go away to AC Milan. They did win by 3-1. And you could just put it down to one of those results that you get every now and then. As Sheffield United winning at Old Trafford has happened in the Premier League. Blackburn winning at Old Trafford many years ago when Blackburn were relegated. You do get these sometimes anomalies, which is why we say with betting previews, always gamble responsibly. Liverpool are going to come into this with Bournemouth more switched on, going, right, this is not a Forest, this is where we're going to take this to Bournemouth. You see goals in this one for the home side?
Yeah, I do. I think Liverpool responded brilliantly away in the San Siro against AC Milan. The scoreline probably flattered AC Milan. It makes it look closer than it was. Liverpool could have won 4 or 5 quite easily, hit the bar twice. Goalkeeper was on absolute fire, made 3 or 4 big saves. So Liverpool created a lot more chances than they did against Forest. There was a big response. There was almost a hurt feeling from the players to say, we didn't like what happened against Forest. We are going to respond. And they need to take that into the performance this weekend. Bournemouth haven't played midweek. I think they're a better side than Forest. I think they'll have more of a go. I don't think they'll put everyone behind the ball like Forest did, and they'll have a bigger threat on the counter, Bournemouth. So that's to be mindful of. Liverpool made 2 changes. Gakpo was one of them, outstanding. Whether he starts again at the weekend, I don't know. So Diaz was rested. So was Andy Robertson. I think Liverpool will respond again and have a good win this time, and it'll be a difficult one for Bournemouth.
The last time on Merseyside, of course, for Bournemouth, they've got very fond memories. 2-0 down at Everton with literally 3 minutes to play and came from behind to win by 3-2. That was there only a few weeks ago, of course. No hope here for you, Paul, for Bournemouth. The Bournemouth side who actually started the season pretty well. They're 11th. They've got 5 points. They're not exactly looking over their shoulder at this early stage. They're going, we're quite happy where we are, and they can come into this one kind of nice and relaxed, not the pressure on. Could they cause a bit of an upset? 9.2, is that tempting for you?
I think you can just copy and paste that every week with Bournemouth, because I think that's what you're going to get with Bournemouth every week for this season. That's about where they're at, isn't it? 11th, not really in danger of trouble in the European places, not really going to go down. They're just a good side. Ariola's got them playing well. I think they lack a few goals, but I think they play well. They're a good watch. They're a good, solid team. You say is the hope. All they have to do is look last week against Forest, what Forest did to Liverpool. There's always hope. I mean, the bookies don't often get it wrong, and on the odd occasion that they do, like in the Forest game, it's an acca buster, isn't it? It smashed everyone's acca to bits last week. Liverpool at home against Forest or a Bournemouth or a banker, no matter what I sit here and tell you about the way that Bournemouth are organised with the 4 at the back, the 2 defensive midfielders, whatever case you make for Bournemouth, you're never going to back them to win at Anfield. You're not going to back many teams to win at Anfield. So I've got Liverpool to win. I've got Liverpool to bounce back again at home in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's difficult for Bournemouth because Bournemouth can go, look, we could do what Forest do, but then they could go, well, we might not be able to do it because Liverpool don't want it to be another Forest. So there'll be more steely and determination not to be beaten at home. Let's go for score predictions in this one then. Neil, you go first. Liverpool against Bournemouth at 3 p.m. on Saturday. Score prediction from you, please.
Yeah, I've got a comfortable home win. I've got Maka to score as well for Liverpool. He's not scored this season. 1 in 15 in a Liverpool shirt. Very, very good player, Alexis McAllister. So McAllister to get on the score sheet. Liverpool to win. A clean sheet. 3-0.
3-0. Last time Liverpool played at home was 3-1. Bournemouth did get on the score sheet. Darwin Núñez, by the way, has got 3 goals in 2 games against Bournemouth. Your score prediction, please, Paul, for Liverpool-Bournemouth.
Liverpool reverting back to the early season, 2-0 to Liverpool, and I think that's what it's going to be. Clean sheet at home, 2-0 Liverpool.
Yes, I'll tell you what, there's generally overs on the goals at Anfield. We've had a 2-1, a 9-0 and a 3-1 when Bournemouth have played at Liverpool. So both agree it's a Liverpool victory and both agree that Liverpool are going to win 2-0. 3-0 for Neil and 2-0 for Paul. Let's move on to another big game in part 1 of the Premier League preview at Sportsbet.io. We're looking at Spurs against Brentford. To be honest, this could have been West Ham against Chelsea. This could have been Crystal Palace at home to Man U. But I've gone for this one because I'm just thinking, could you be tempted by the price of Brentford to win at Spurs? It is a fairly big price. It is 5.5 for Brentford to win at Spurs. Spurs are 1.55. Do you trust them to get the job done at home? 4.5 for the tie. Before I hand over to you, Paul, for your first shouts on this one, I will tell you that Brentford have scored 5 goals across the last 2 games at Spurs. They do come here and they do score goals. What's your thinking for Spurs against Brentford?
I'm worried. I'm genuinely worried the way that Spurs are playing at the moment. They played Coventry last night. Obviously, I said to you I was at the Etihad for the Man City game, but listening to the phone-ins on the way home last night, it was full of Tottenham fans. They've really turned on Ange Postecoglou, the way that he's playing. It's been a dramatic turn. It's literally, they're saying it's plan A and that's it. There's no other ideas. It's plan A or plan A with different personnel. I think they rescued the game last night against Coventry in the 88th minute and then in injury time. And there's a lot of Spurs fans that are really unhappy with the way that the side's playing, with the way that the results are, the way that the side's conceding goals, basically saying they can't defend. A clean sheet is a very rarity. I mean, I know they got one this season against Everton, but actually I've not seen Tottenham firsthand other than the Arsenal game this season. And obviously you watch it on TV, you don't generally necessarily pick up the movement, see the defensive line. But listening to a lot of the Tottenham fans that come away from that Coventry game last night, there's a lot of unrest and there's not a lot of fans that are happy with Ange at the moment. So, listen, I'm doing the game on Saturday. I'm covering the game and I'm looking forward to seeing the atmosphere inside the stadium because from what I'm led to believe, not everybody is fully behind the manager at the moment, which is a bit of a turn in events. Brentford at home pose a real threat for me. Like you said, they're a big price. I'm like Neil, I'd never back against my team. But I think this is one where there could be some value this weekend. Tottenham get off to a shaky start. If they score early, there's a lot of confidence in that team. After a win midweek against Coventry, the confidence will flow back into the team and you hope for a performance. But actually, the way that they concede goals from set plays, how vulnerable they look at the back, the high line that just doesn't change with the pace that they've got in Wissa and Buemo, the way that Brentford played at Anfield the other week. I was at Anfield for that game. You know, if you saw that game, Mels, the way that Brentford played, on the counter-attack, they look quick, they look sharp. And players like Buemo on the counter-attack, they can really hurt this Tottenham team. It's a definite both teams to score for me. I will back Tottenham to win, but I've got my concerns at the moment, the way that the team's playing.
Yeah, they are missing Wissa at Brentford, and Buemo, by the way, has got 3 goals in 3 games against Spurs, and also the meeting, the head-to-heads between these two sides. The team scoring the first goal in this fixture in the last 4 Premier League meetings between Spurs and Brentford, the team who scored the first goal has not gone on to win the game of football. As I said, Brentford have come here and they have scored goals. Each of the last few meetings between these have been over 3.5 goals. Spurs have got just 4 points in the Premier League. It's their fewest at this stage since the 2015-2016 season. Any hope for Brentford for you here, Neil, to pile the pressure and the misery on Postecoglou?
No. They got turned over, didn't they, at City last week? Gave them a decent game. It was close, stayed in the game. They won in the Cup, so Brentford have played in the Cup this week. I think Visser is a massive miss. It really is. The fact they lost Tony as well, I think they'll be a little bit light up top. It will be a threat for them, the counter. Liverpool contain that really well. I think set pieces will be the biggest threat. They have. Spurs have had a few problems with that. Well, but this was the back four for Spurs. How many of this back four will play? So you're talking about the game against Coventry in midweek, the cup game, where they had a scare when Johnson needed to score a late winner. Archie Gray right back, Dragerson centre back, Davies centre back, Udogie left back. How many of them are going to play back four?
None, probably.
Well, Udogie will play, but it's the same problems that they've had all season. Regardless of who plays, they play the same high line and they get picked apart by whoever they play. And Coventry ripped them apart from what I'm led to believe last night.
Yeah, but with this Brentford counter-attack, and Buemo's the big threat, he's going to miss Visser. Visser was a big part of that. So I just think this is the game where Brentford struggle and Spurs get a much-needed boost. It's been a poor start, I have to say that for Spurs. Spurs have a great record against Brentford. They've only lost one of the last 17, which is a really, really good record. 3 of the last 5 have been draws. I'm on Spurs to get a decent victory here. What about Solanke as well to score his first Spurs goal? He hasn't scored for them yet. His last goal in the Premier League? Against Brentford. Maybe he gets his first for Spurs. I've got Solanke to score and Spurs to win.
You've got a lot of confidence for Spurs. I'm not so sure. But we've had this conversation. We had this conversation about Chelsea in weeks past, and they've went and demolished the likes of Wolves 6-2 when you were like, I was unsure, and you went in on Chelsea. So let's get some score predictions on them for Spurs against Brentford. A Brentford side who, pretty much like we just mentioned with Bournemouth going to Anfield, they're going to look at this and go, we're 9th, we've got 6 points, we're absolutely fine, it's a good start to the season. Their last 2 away games, by the way, for Brentford have been Liverpool and Man City, so they've you can't read too much into their away form after that. Let's go to you first, Paul. Liverpool against not Liverpool against Bournemouth. It is Spurs. I'm all over the place. It is Spurs against Brentford. Your score prediction on this one, please.
Well, due to the fact that we can't defend, it's a definite both teams to score. I don't think you're going to get much value in both teams to score. But I think you go overs in the goals market, over 2.5, over 3.5. I'm confident there's going to be goals in this. I am going to back Spurs to win, but we won't keep a clean sheet. 4-2 Tottenham.
Wow, 4-2. Let me get a price on that one. 4-2. You're going to have that at 29. That's a big price. We generally do get goals between these two. We've had a 3-2. We get 4-1s. We get 2-2s and all sorts between Spurs and Brentford. 4-2 for Spurs. You're thinking, please, Neil?
I think Spurs will win. They'll win handsomely and Brentford will not score. I've got a clean sheet. It might not be many for Spurs this year, but Spurs 3, Brentford 0.
There was 2 consecutive clean sheets for Spurs against Brentford back in 21-22. Since then, Brentford have found the back of the net in the last 4 games. So you've gone for 3-0. So you've gone for victories for Spurs in that one. If you fancy Spurs to win, the price is 1.55. So best of luck with your bets. That brings to an end part 1 of the Premier League preview, where we've covered Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Spurs against Brentford. And in part 2, we'll be going through the rest of the game and looking at the guys' score predictions. Whatever your bets are, please do gamble responsibly.